Hi, I'm Abe Madcore, Executive Editor of Sports Business Journal, Sports Business Daily, and our Global Edition, and I'm joined by Trip Mickle, staff writer, and Tom Stinson, Assistant Managing Editor. And Tom, it's like our weekly tradition here. We're here to talk about our champions. This is our final week. Our last one, and this week we look at the life of Harvey Schiller.
We do. We take a look at Harvey Schiller, and it's one of the more unique and interesting people in sports business, mainly because of everything he has done, but also because he hasn't really stayed any one place for too long and had that sustained track record in one area. So it's kind of a harder profile to get into the person, and I think Tripp did just a fantastic job doing that.
Harvey's somebody who's puzzled me for a long time. I've known him for 3 years, and you look at his resume, and it literally goes on for pages. I've never seen anything like that. But it's filled with these 5-year stints, and all of those stints, whether it was at the SEC, Turner, or Yankee Nets, are layered on top of an entire career in the military and work as a professor. It's really mind-boggling what he was able to do. And I spent a lot of time wrestling with how was he able to do that and what drove him to do that.
So what did you find continually drives him?
Well, it's interesting. It's conversations that I'm having with him today or have had with him in recent years that I really kept coming back to. And that is one question that he repeats over and over again, or one statement that he makes, which is, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I had the pleasure of going and sitting down with he and David Stern in David's office at the NBA headquarters, and that was something that the two of them just kind of went back and forth on. I mean, here are two men who've done so much in sports business, and they know that their contributions in this world aren't done, and they're wrestling with, how do they continue to contribute? What can they continue to do?
There are a lot of great elements to this story that I thought you really hit at. One area that I really enjoyed was him working, of course, for Ted Turner and also George Steinbrenner and creating Yankee Nets, and a close friend of George Steinbrenner. Talk a little bit about what he learned from both of those figures.
It's fascinating. I can't think of any other executive who's worked for both of those individuals, especially not at a high level like Harvey did. And from Ted, he really admired Ted's vision and just some of the unique traits that Ted brought to his job. So, the fact that you could spend all this time researching some plan, like, say, changing the television window from starting 5 minutes after the hour, the way Ted liked to do it, to actually at the hour. And if Ted had his mind made up, it didn't matter. And he really went with his gut. With George, it was a little bit different. He said that George was just more perceptive. So he really pointed out this great story, and it's one that's familiar to everyone because Visa turned it into a commercial, but about how he understood that, Derek Jeter being out and kind of being on the town in New York was holding back what George perceived to be a real championship team. And he set Jeter down and talked to him about how he needed to focus and commit to the team, and that's what really brought about that championship. So it's just interesting to get somebody's perspective who's worked for both, but also friends with both.
Well, a lot of the theme is what's next, but what is next for Harvey?
He's involved right now with his family on kind of a new endeavor where they're working with renewable and sustainable fabrics to make clothes, T-shirts, etc. They're doing that, but then in the sports world, he's really trying to figure it out. He has the idea of maybe approaching the NFL about getting involved as a liaison between the NFL ranks and collegiate sports, and potentially working with a professional team. And he's also really active and involved right now with America's Cup. He's never been able to work on sailing, and he seems to always enjoy new challenges and what could be next. And sailing is that for him right now.
Well, from a chemistry professor to a pilot to a really esteemed sports executive, it was a really nuanced piece of a person's life. And Tom, you've seen now 6 of these, all different.
Yeah.
Highlights for you.
They all had highlights for me. From Tripp kind of breaking down Harvey Schiller's life into individual stories for each aspect of it, to our original piece on Ron Shapiro, where Bill King got to spend a couple days on his farm with him, which was, really a privilege, to across the line, Roy Kramer and getting his take on today's world of college athletics. It's just every one of them has just had some highlights that were just really kind of stunning.
Well, we did it differently this year in that we staggered them out individually, and we didn't do it as one complete package. And I hope the readers enjoyed them. I know I enjoyed them. They were really, really fascinating looks. We'll have a panel discussion at our World Congress of Sports in Naples next month, where we'll be joined by 5 of the 6 champions who will talk about their life stories. And if you have any ideas or any tips for champions of next year for our class of 2014, please send them along. So for Trip Mickle, Tom Stinson, I'm Abe Madcore, and we'll see you down the road.